Welcome to the DC Bar's Brief Encounters podcast series. This episode is part of Intersections, Energy and Environmental Issues in Law and Tech, a podcast sponsored by the DC Bar and the Women's Bar Association of DC. I'm Cathy Pagano with the Women's Bar Association of DC and the DC Bar's Energy, Environmental, and Natural Resources community. Today, our guest is Cindy McCabe, Director of Renewable Energy Programs at the Montgomery County Green Bank in Maryland. In today's Intersections episode, we're excited to hear from Cindy about her work at the Montgomery County Green Bank. First, we'll hear what a green bank is. We'll also hear how the Montgomery County, Maryland Green Bank got its start, about its amazing projects, and why they and other green banks are making such a big impact on reducing emissions. We're thrilled that Cindy can join us today. She's the Director of Renewable Energy Programs for Montgomery County Green Bank, and she joined the team in September of 2020. Cindy came to the Green Bank after working as residential solar sales manager with Tesla in Maryland and as residential and commercial solar project manager with Ipsen Solar in Washington, D.C. and Virginia. Cindy brings a wealth of experience in solar customer acquisition, contract management, and utility relations, as well as high-level knowledge of solar project design, operations, and maintenance. Originally from New Jersey, Cindy attended the Graduate School of Education at Rutgers University. After graduating there, Cindy served in the Peace Corps in Bolivia, where she became fluent in Spanish and completed a successful large environmental project for her site and for the surrounding areas. Cindy later attended the School of Public Affairs at American University, where she studied environmental policy and statistics. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you, Cathy. I'm so happy to be here.
Cindy, could you start by telling us what are green banks?
Sure. Green banks are organizations that use innovative financing to accelerate the transition to clean energy and to fight climate change. A green bank doesn't look or act like a typical bank. For example, green banks don't take deposits or dispense money. It's best to think of green banks as special funds that are set up by an area. Green banks work to multiply their impact by leveraging their money 5 to 10 to even 20 times by working together with partners and other organizations, although we can and have been the only lender in a project. Green banks can create a much bigger impact on the environment and on clean energy projects.
That is a powerful concept and effort. Could you also tell us specifically about the Montgomery County Green Bank?
The Green Bank was chartered by Montgomery County in 2017. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're dedicated to accelerating energy efficiency, renewable energy, and resilience in Montgomery County, Maryland, which, if you don't know, is located just a few miles from the nation's capital. Our mission is to help the county get to zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2035. The projects we finance save energy, lower greenhouse gas emissions, create healthy living and working environments, foster a more resilient economy and environment, and help the county achieve its environmental goals. Well, Cathy, now I have a question for you. Do you know how the electricity used in your building is generated?
That's a great question, Cindy. I hadn't thought about it before we earlier discussed this, but when I checked, Pepco, our home energy supplier, provided some information from the first half of 2023, and for our neighborhood, natural gas led with about 43%, nuclear at around 34%, and coal around 14%. In Montgomery County, we do have some renewables, and wind looks like it leads at 4.2%. It is so good for the public to have access to this sort of information.
Yes, most people don't know the answer to that question, but I'm glad you found out. If the building that you're in doesn't have renewable energy like solar or geothermal, it's most likely powered by either burning fossil fuels, burning garbage, or nuclear power, like you said. Burning things like this creates greenhouse gas emissions that can contaminate the air, the water, and the earth. And it also increases the number of people that suffer from asthma in the area. Do you know anyone that suffers from asthma?
Another excellent question. Our son suffered from asthma earlier on. Luckily, he improved as he grew bigger. Again, I was surprised to see that according to the Maryland Health Department, 6.8% of children in 2021 and 10.8% of adults in 2022 in Maryland had asthma. So it's really important to reduce emissions.
Yes, for sure.
Does the Green Bank fund both residential and commercial projects?
Well, Cathy, we don't lend directly to residents, but we partner with other lenders to improve their lending programs through lowering interest rates and other credit enhancements, like lower credit score allowances and low income programs.
That's great. And what about commercial building funding?
Well, we have a lot of options on our commercial side. The first one is called tailored financing, and that's available for a lot of different projects, buildings, and clean energy improvements. And it's focused on improving the cash flow. This is the most popular option, and basically, it's a loan that we tailor to your specific needs. There's no one size fits all. We fit the loan to what you need. We also have what's called CSPPA, or Commercial Solar Power Purchase Agreements. These are available and provide the benefits of solar energy with no out-of-pocket costs. These projects are owned by a developer and maintained by the developer. The building owner can enter into a contract at a fixed price per kilowatt hour for the solar energy that's generated by the system. Another option is called CPACE, or Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And that offers commercial property owners the ability to use the property's tax bill as a means to finance the project. How it works is that CPACE authorizes the private capital provider to give commercial property owners the financing for the project and to collect the payment through annual or semi-annual surcharges on the property's tax bill. Now, you might say, well, what if the building is a nonprofit? A nonprofit can also use CPACE, and what the county will do is they'll create a special assessment for the property to pay that back.
Wow. Could you give us a local example of a project funded by tailored finance?
Yes, and that's our most popular option, as I mentioned. So, 1 Acre Farm is a 34-acre farm in Montgomery County's agricultural reserve, and the farm's mission is to deliver organically grown vegetables to their local community while minimizing the impact on the environment. We created, as I said, a tailored loan, or a one-of-its-kind loan, to help with the farm's rooftop solar, which produces 33,000 kilowatts of clean renewable solar energy throughout the first 12 months of use. Over the next 20 years, the solar installed by Paradise Energy will avoid the consumption of 630,000 kilowatt hours of energy not sourced from the local utility provider. That will mitigate 468 metric tons of carbon dioxide greenhouse gas emissions. The energy savings will lead to about $94,280 over 20 years and reduce energy bills for the building.
That is great for the farmer and for the environment. Could you please also share with us what is the clean energy project that you're most proud of?
I would love to. I'd love to talk about Warner Memorial Presbyterian Church in Kensington. They installed a community solar system on their roof a couple years ago. The community solar is a little different because all of the solar power that's produced goes back to the utility grid, not to the property, which is a church. The energy is then credited to subscribers of the project on their utility bill, so they get a discount. In a typical community solar project, the property owner gets a big fat check every year for letting the solar developer use their roof for the solar panels. What makes Warner Memorial different is that they decided that they wanted to donate all of that money that they would have gotten to the subscribers who are local low-income residents. In the end, these low-income residents are getting 40% off of their utility bills. Imagine paying so much less for your electric bills and putting that money back in your pocket.
That is really terrific. From a policy or legal perspective, Cindy, how did the Montgomery County Green Bank get its start?
Well, Montgomery County, Maryland made history in June 2015 when the County Council passed legislation to create the Green Bank. When the legislation passed, our county became the first local jurisdiction in the United States to establish a formal Green Bank organization.
Wow, that is really outstanding for our area. If other local jurisdictions are interested in getting a green bank started, what would you recommend?
Well, first, I recommend that folks speak to their local politicians to get a green bank started. There's also a lot of information on our website, which is mcgreenbank.org, and also on the website for Coalition for Green Capital, which is coalitionforgreencapital.com. The EPA also has lots of websites.
That's great. Could you share why is it important for local communities to create and support measures to promote energy efficiency?
Yes, of course. I mean, besides transportation, our buildings use and lose the most energy that causes greenhouse gas emissions. By improving how we heat and cool the buildings where we work and live and play is the key to reducing our emissions. By insulating our buildings, electrifying all of this machinery, and using less of this energy, we can use cleaner energy and, as I said, less of it.
That's great. So, Cindy, are there any new solar technologies we should know about?
Well, there are always new solar technologies coming out. Like they always make thin solar films and they're getting thinner and thinner. And they are, especially in Europe, always installing solar in new places, like underneath train tracks, over top of everything, and on the sides of buildings. But the panels themselves usually stay about the same as far as what we install on the rooftops. They become slightly more efficient each year.
That is really interesting. So, but it say I'm thinking about buying solar panels. Should I wait for the newest technology before buying?
Well, if you do that, you'd probably just keep waiting and waiting. Like they say, if you wanted to wait for the newest iPhone, you would just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. The solar panels have maintained pretty much the same technology since the 1950s. They just keep getting a little bit more efficient. So the best time to go solar, as they say, is yesterday.
That is so true. Do you think that solar technology makes the grid more reliable?
I do. I do. The grid that we have in this part of the country is between 50 and 100 years old and is constantly in need of upgrades. We're always using more and more electricity as we use more and more devices. And so adding solar to the grid helps take some of that demand off.
Is really helpful. The more reliable the grid could be, the better it is for all of us. So, another tech related question. What can you tell us about how battery technology works with solar for storage and if this helps the grid as well?
Definitely, Kathy. So, one thing that I want everyone to know is that most solar systems that you see installed don't have battery storage. So, that solar is just connected directly to the utility grid. And if the utility grid goes down, solar system without a battery will turn off. So, folks that have solar but no battery, they actually don't have backup power. So, it's really important that if you want to have backup power, in case of an outage, that you think about also installing a battery. And batteries do help the grid as well for folks that need power in time of an outage, and also for folks that happen to have a time of use schedule where it's allowed to pull from their battery when the grid is at its highest demand.
Wow, that is sophisticated and really helpful information. Do you think, Cindy, there are new battery technologies working with solar technologies? For example, are other countries conducting some solar research or battery research in addition to what's happening in the US?
I'm sure there are, especially for data centers, I would say. So, data centers are the new biggest thing, not that we want new data centers. I mean, we need new data centers. And the thing that we need to do is figure out how to get data centers running with the current grid that we have, with the electricity that we have. So what we're working on now is how to get data centers to use electricity that's from solar, from renewable energy, from heat left over from HVAC systems that are already producing electricity. So cogeneration systems using electricity that, as I said, that's left over from other systems. There are a lot of ideas floating around, and people are playing around with how to make data centers work and make them use less energy and clean energy when possible.
Wow, this all is incredibly helpful and enlightening. Looking at it from a different perspective, your career is so meaningful, Cindy. Your organization is making such a difference by promoting funding mechanisms to help county developments and homes save money and reduce greenhouse gases. Could you please share with us how you got started in your career and how others might pursue this type of career?
Yes, of course. Great question. I've always been dedicated to helping the environment any way that I could. And after college, I joined the Peace Corps and completed a successful environmental project in a small village in Bolivia. After that, I decided to completely change careers and work in the environmental sector because of the project that I did in the Peace Corps and because of how well it went and how great I felt doing it.
That is really meaningful. Do you have some recommendations for those who are interested in an environmental, energy, or green bank career?
Definitely. I mean, the first thing you can do is look for a local environmental club like the Sierra Club. You can look up their website and find their local chapter. You can also look up the Peace Corps. They're always looking for folks to volunteer. You can volunteer in another organization that might be helping the environment. And you can look at other green banks in your area as well. And if there isn't one, talk to your local city council, county, or whatever area you're in about starting a green bank.
That is great advice. And with all of these ongoing projects, I imagine the pace is pretty hectic all the time for you, Cindy. How do you handle the work-life balance? And do you have time for other interests and pursuits?
I used to have time for a lot of interests, and now I have a 2-year-old.
That's great.
She keeps me very busy. And basically, once I get her to sleep or to nap, that's when I get a little bit of balance.
Well, that all sounds great and very inspiring as well. We want to thank you so much, Cindy, for taking the time to share these fascinating developments all about the Montgomery County, Maryland Green Bank and green banks in general, and for sharing your valuable time with us. We also want to thank the DC Bar, the Women's Bar Association of DC, and our listeners. We invite you all to watch for our next Intersections podcast. Thank you so much.